Hey, we are here. Finally. And, Jerry, guess what I did today?
What did you do today?
I hooked up the microphone. So we can hear you today where we couldn't last time.
And most people are going, damn it was going so well.
No, I am pretty sure that most people who listen to our podcast would wish that I would be quiet more and you would talk more, because you definitely bring the intelligence to this this duo here for sure.
That's not what I thought you was going to say.
What do you think I was going to say?
That'll bring the good looks to the duo.
Oh,
we established that many years ago.
No, that's what
whatever
they
it
say.
is. I make it look good. Exactly, that's what they say.
Well, we'll just have to agree. We'll agree to disagree. We're going to have to agree to disagree again today.
We're going to have a long list of those.
Guys, welcome to Newsworthy. Glad you're here. Hopefully you can hear Jerry now. That's good. And for our live listeners, you're going to get a double shot of us this week. As Sunday, we're going to be live with Clay as we're recording for next week. In 18 days, I'll be on vacation, so that episode will air then. But if you listen live,
yes, only the people listening live will catch it Sunday.
You want to listen to
wait until week of 9/11?
Yep. Clay will be with us there in house, and I think that we should have wine when Clay's here.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if we haven't met a milestone, which
we are drinking today because we hit yet another milestone. 700 downloads.
Yeah.
So, cheers.
Cheers indeed. Tonight it's Oliver Sweet Red. Woo!
Not our absolute favorite, but a good one.
Yeah. Hey, Brett. Welcome to the live show. Not going to say anything like Brett was the reason that the show's late today or anything. Not putting that squarely on Brett's shoulders, but and I'm just kidding.
He'll be happy to know that my dad joke of the week is in honor of him, truly, and my daughter, Nikki.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. I guess I'll just go ahead and, since I've mentioned that, did you know that they say 3 out of 2 people are bad at fractions?
Yeah,
for Brett and Truly.
And Nikki. All you weird math people. Gosh.
You actually said that to me earlier today. You're talking about Brett, Truly, both of them, I think. You said they majored in math. You're like, who does that?
Truly and Nikki.
Oh, Truly and Nikki.
Yeah.
That's right. He majored in engineering.
Yeah. So, anyway, why do we surround ourselves with such smart people? Is it to make ourselves feel smart? Because...
Well, in my defense, the one that I surround myself with so much, I didn't really have a choice. It's my daughter, so I passed the genes to her, so she really didn't have a choice.
Oh, I see.
That's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Listen, I'm just telling you, because Twitter today thinks I'm a twit. I was telling Jerry today, I've had Twitter for several years. I use it to promote the podcast. I use it to promote my real estate business. I use it very much from the periphery. I don't get into the weeds on Twitter because Twitter is a cesspit of toxicity that I don't need in my life. I'm not a toxic person. I'm not a bad person, a down person. But today, I got in the weeds. And I have been called everything but a white milk cow today on Twitter. I've been called a bootlicker. I've been called a sycophant. A sycophant. I've been called...
Did I pronounce that word? I didn't even know.
One of those two is correct. So I figured I'd do it both ways. And that way I'm right. At least I'm like a broken clock.
We'll have to get one of our smart friends or relatives to let us know what's correct.
Right?
But anyway, go ahead and tell them what it's about.
Well... Kentucky hero and favorite son.
Right? Second favorite. We decided last week, I think it was, Mr. Jack Goose Givens is
and
far and away our number one favorite. Still today, the man.
Yeah, I get that.
But anyway, number 2, local boy, Rex Chapman.
Well, Rex Chapman, for those people who don't know, is, and if you follow him on Twitter, you do know, is an absolute bleeding heart liberal. He's never met a conservative he likes, period. And that's fine, whatever. I don't, I seriously don't begrudge anybody if they believe in what they say. And I don't care if you're Obama or Trump or whoever. If you live how you believe, kudos to you. I'm not going to argue with you.
Might debate.
We might debate. We might have a conversation, but I'm not going to absolutely just blister you because we disagree.
Just because that's what you believe.
That's what's wrong with the world. We're too, in my opinion, we're too hard-headed toward each other.
I also like the way Apostle Paul put it in the Bible, by the way, when he said, I have a reason for my belief. That transfers directly to politics. If you have a reason for what you believe, I respect that.
Yeah. We've always said that we didn't necessarily think Bush was our favorite president, Bush Jr., W. But we always believed that whatever came out of his mouth was 100% what he believed. Yeah.
And to make it fair to the other side, we've also said pretty much the exact same thing about
Barack Obama.
And Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, absolutely, Bernie Sanders.
We think he's a nutcase. We think he's far out left field. We also believe that he's sincere in what he believes. Yeah. He thinks that what he's saying is the right thing.
As he purchases his 3 mansions all over the country. And I can have this, but you can't have this. The government's not going to pay for yours. Sorry. Terrible Bernie Sanders impression.
We got off on such a tangent from Rex Chapman.
Gosh, yeah, sorry. So Rex Chapman posted today, or he tweeted today, or tweet today, or whatever you call that. I don't know, and I don't care, to be blunt.
Tweeted.
Okay. These, and we're talking in reference, this is, I'm assuming the contextual part of this is in response to Biden's $10,000 student loan forgiveness program.
10 to 20. Depending upon the type.
This is what he posted, because that obviously got a lot of red state and Republican blowback. But this is what he said, and I quote, "These wealthy, conservative elected leaders who shit on education but send their kids to private schools and university, whose kids get out of school and have jobs lined up on Wall Street, don't want your kids to have free access to college because the military makes more sense for them." And I disagreed with that. And there's at least 30 or 40 different responses to what I said. To the people who brought a honest critique and a question, kudos to you. You are what the world needs, regardless we agree or disagree. To the people who decided that immediately I'm a twit, I am a bootlicker, and all of the other stuff that they said that is not eligible to be listened to on this show. You people are the problem. Period. You're the problem. Now, Jerry and I sat here over dinner and we talked about forever. We went back and forth, and we finally, after disagreeing vehemently at the beginning because we had a misunderstanding, figured out that we actually 100% agree on the end. But
by the way, let me interject. That all started.
Hello, Letitia. Glad you're here.
Hello, Letitia. That all started our disagreement because I simply said that overall, I agreed with what Biden did. I also said, I don't know if the numbers are where they ought to be, but I read a report yesterday that said that since 1980, college tuition has become more than 3 times as expensive as it was then, and that's after accounting for inflation. It also said that the average student who graduates with debt, obviously the ones who are basically living in poverty because some of those get a full ride, some of those who are incredibly smart, like your son who had a full ride because of his 4.0 GPA, and Josh is incredibly smart, are those who are incredibly rich, graduates with, those are the only ones who graduates usually with no debt. For those who do graduate with debt, it's gone up by more than 5 times. So my point was it's becoming harder for the average poor to middle class guy to afford college. After we talked for that, at first Steve was like, no way, you're part of this problem that wants to give everything to everyone.
To me, it's all about who pays for it. We are already $30 trillion in debt. And we just keep hemorrhaging money to all these different places, all these different programs. And folks, I've said it once, I've said it a million times. our national debt is our greatest national security risk.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
So unless you have a plan in place, like we discussed, to cut something or to just be blunt and say, hey, we're going to raise everybody's taxes to pay for this.
But don't increase the debt.
But don't increase the debt anymore. We can't afford it.
Absolutely. We also agreed that what Tennessee does is probably a good place to start. Tennessee, for a few years now, has said that the first 2 years of community college will be paid for. There are several stipulations. You can't drop out. If you do, you're going to have to pay back money. It can't be more than 2 years. It's only for the first 2 years of community college. They've made it free for all residents of the state of Tennessee. And Steve and I both think that that's a good place to start. And if you're in need, there should be a place close enough for you to be able to drive, so that we're only talking about tuition and books. We're not talking about any room and board.
Food. There should be a food program.
What's board?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're saying that would be great if that was the first 2 years.
And you know what?
Was free.
And you know what?
What's
if
that?
you need a 4-year degree, you earn it right there.
Well,
You show you're going to do the work right there.
in the first 2 years.
In the first 2 years.
And then after that, you should have no problem getting some financial aid and be able
Exactly.
to take out loans for the rest of it for your last 2 years. I'm fine with that. I think
Absolutely.
what Tennessee's doing is a great idea, though.
And absolutely. And so you have to do loans. Say you have to do, but you're only getting 2 years worth of loans at that point.
Yep.
So I don't disagree with that. My biggest concern and my biggest thing I put on Twitter, doesn't it to value everyone's college? And the thought that I was coming with that from wasn't that you don't have to do the work, that as an example, in high school right now, everything's to the bottom common denominator because they want everybody to pass. Okay? That's, if you are an educator, I apologize. But if you take a step back and look, that's what's happening in our education system right now.
Not everything, but a lot of it.
Not everything.
A lot of it.
A lot of it. And it's really, the only people that hurts are our kids. There's a reason.
Well, how should you do it?
I have no idea. Because if you want to be at the top of the heap, then you have to do best practices from Japan. Japan goes to school, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week?
I don't think we need to go there, but
No.
the first thing we need to do is to do away with our archaic system that was built upon an agricultural society where school was 9 months and you let them out of school for 3 months for during the summer, which the reasoning was that was the prime time for farmers when they needed help in the fields. Well, guys, I was born in 1965. I was going to school starting in 72? That wasn't an issue back then. It's certainly not now. So we need to move away from a system that's geared toward that. Another hour or so per day.
Why not another hour a day? And I'm not opposed to having 3 months off in the year. You got to have a chance. Just like,
big time, I am.
Well, here's the thing. You don't do it all at one time. Studies have shown repeatedly that the memory retention between school years falls dramatically. So why not do 2 weeks at a time?
But why give that 3 months? Why does it need? Why not take it to 6 weeks?
Brett, see, this is why I love our listeners. Brett pulls out a very good point. He says, and they should stop allowing students to pay $100,000 for a bogus degree in something like gender studies.
You and I talked about that.
Yeah.
One of the things that needs to happen is they need to do needs analysis surveys for classes and determine if there is a need. I get this because my brother was an assistant professor in a tech school for many years. And years ago, the tech schools were totally separate from the community colleges. They merged at one point. And it was a huge adjustment for them because they were always used to having to do a needs adjustment survey for every program, which simply said, what do we think the need for this program is going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years? And what they found is that there was a few areas, and cosmetology and law enforcement were two of the worst. They had 200-300 students that wanted to enroll and teachers that wanted to teach that many students. And they were doing surveys saying, guys, in 5 years, we're only going to need 35 per year.
Yeah.
How about the other 365 guys that were teaching?
Yeah.
Where are they going?
Yeah.
These aren't guys who want to leave. So, yes, first we need to make sure that there's a need and that there will be jobs available for these people. Start there.
It needs to be needs-based.
Yes.
I think that absolutely is part of the problem. And Brett's absolutely right. We don't need to pay $100,000 to teach somebody about gender studies. And what do you do with that degree?
All this crap.
Underwater basket weaving or
history degrees. If you're not going to teach it, and if you're in, the suburbs of Washington, D.C., where I spent 20 years, there's a good chance that you can go get involved with some think tank and you might get a job.
Listen.
In this part of the world, what are you going to do with that?
Let me stop you for just a second. I just want to say that, when you lived in D.C., I came out a couple of times.
Right.
And one day, you went with us, and then there was one time that you didn't, and I took the boys. They were young.
Up to D.C.
We went to D.C., and then we went in some of the surrounding areas. And the education and the way I disagree with a lot of what the federal government does. A lot. But the way that they had the exhibits at the battlefields and the buildings and, the Smithsonian was just, I could live in the Smithsonian.
Absolutely.
That's done 100% right. And it should be. That's our nation's capital. Everything should be T's crossed, I's dotted. But I just wanted to say that was amazing. I always love that.
You mentioned about being in the nation's capital, but when you were talking about the battlefields and all that, you probably weren't talking about the nation's capital.
Virginia.
You were talking about Fredericksburg, there where I lived, which was, Fredericksburg is quite unique. It's 50 miles north of Richmond, which was the capital of the Confederacy. It's 50 miles south of Washington, D.C., which was the capital of the Union, obviously. So there was a ton of battles fought in and around Fredericksburg. So to this day, there's still a ton of battlefields and cemeteries and all that.
I would love to get out there with my metal detector. And I know it's illegal.
Huge. No.
Really?
Don't do that. In many places, it's illegal in certain areas.
Yeah.
But that's a huge pastime up there.
Here in Kentucky, it's illegal on any known battlefield. Like the battlefield down in Perryville, you cannot go out there with your metal detector.
I know that there's several battlefields. I do not know which one, but I had a guy that worked for me, Richard something, that was a big hobby of his, and he's brought in belt buckles and coins that he's found from that time period. He even found a part of a sword, but it was a small part and didn't have much value. It was like the middle of the sword, but. So interesting.
Anyway, I just want to tell everybody I'm not a twit, I'm not a bootlicker, but I think we should have room for different ideas.
Absolutely.
Education shouldn't be free to everybody. Too many people take advantage and end up with a bogus degree of gender studies for $100,000 on our dime.
It almost always helps when you have some skin in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care how poor, how rich.
Doesn't matter what you're doing.
If you're the parents of if you're incredibly rich, don't pay 100% of it. Nope. Make them work a little bit. Make them have some skin in the game.
Or have a grade set. I'll help you as long as you have this GPA. They have to have something in it to make it worth it to them, or it becomes nothing. I didn't mean to take that long to go down there. We're going to do 3 topics tonight, Jerry. Also, just so you know, we've already the bottle of Oliver Sweet Red.
It's almost gone.
It is gone. I mean, we got a little bit in our cup, but it's gone.
Yep, the bottle's now empty.
We've got to either A, make our milestones bigger, or B, make our bottles bigger.
I think I really prefer the second option there.
Yeah, I do too.
Sounds much better. And actually, our next bottle is twice the size.
Oh, I can't wait.
We will have to share that with an additional person, Clay.
Yeah.
Even so, that's more than we're getting now. So
yeah.
Could be fun time. So, our topic. Well, how was your week, first of all?
Well, that's what I was getting to. In real estate, the biggest question I get is how much a roof costs.
Really?
Yeah. I tell them it's free. It's on the house.
I like that. Because you had me going there because you are in real estate. So. And I could actually see a lot of people asking that question.
They really do. And it's the truth. And unfortunately, the answer is not free.
Yep. And unfortunately, it's probably a wide range. Huge difference between a house with a flat roof on both sides and a house with 14 gables.
Yes. Roofs are based, from my understanding, I'm not a roofer. I don't claim to be. I didn't sleep in a Holiday Inn Express last night. But roofs are based by the number of creases.
Yep.
So the more creases, the more expense.
Yep.
Bluntly, if you have a ranch-style house with 2 sides, cheap. Not cheap. There's nothing cheap about a roof. But
What is a cheap roof? 10 grand?
no, you can
Less than that.
yeah. If they don't have to replace the plywood, if it's just a shingle job, you could get one 6,000-7,000.
What about?
And that's here in Kentucky. In California, which, by the way, I just want to bring it up. And I want to thank our California folks. We got like 15 downloads in California. I don't know why. I don't know if they're in that small pocket around Sacramento that actually kind of tilt red, because in San Diego, they're not listening to Newsworthy because we probably are too far right or center for them.
San Francisco is probably not either.
No. So, I just...
we also need to throw the Georgia folks in here.
Georgia, man, we love you, Georgia.
Yes, we do.
Georgia is number 2 for us on downloads behind Kentucky. Obviously, we're based in Kentucky, so we should have more Kentucky downloads, I feel.
One would think.
But Georgia, y'all are number 2. Tennessee is number 3. And then it goes weird all over the country.
Yep.
And I don't have enough platitudes to thank you with. I run out of words. I need to steal a thesaurus or something. But anyway, where was I going with that? You were asking about roofs.
Your week.
Listen, we don't talk about religion on our show, and that is a decision that we made because it doesn't. We don't feel like in this type of show
It's going to help anything.
It's going to help anything.
It's not going to convert anyone. It's going to piss some people off, and that's all.
Yeah, but I gotta say, this last week, I have been very blessed, and
Awesome.
I honestly believe that when you are blessed, you are to bless someone else. That's why you're blessed, to bless someone else. And if that just means me saying it live here on that happens, that the glory isn't mine, then that's what I have to do. And I know it's a little departure from what we usually do, but
I don't even think it's getting into religion. I think
it's the
most
truth.
people, no matter what religion or lack of religion, maybe they just believe in karma. Most people believe that, if you do good, sooner or later it's going to come back to you.
And I literally that's this week. This week has been a blessing to me.
Awesome.
It's very tiring, and I've worked a lot. Today I started at 3:15 this morning. So, and I'm still going. It's 9:15 now.
Yep.
But that is part of the blessing. So I just got to say that, and just, we don't do it all. That's all I got for that. Yeah. Now, saying that, we got some really, really different topics tonight.
A little bit.
What are you covering tonight, Jerry?
I'm going to be covering the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago for classified documents, specifically taking a look at things that Trump has said since then and trying to fact check a few of those statements.
Good.
I don't know if it's good or not, but yeah.
Well, I mean, Trump.
This one is kind of like religion. Sorry to interrupt, but this one's kind of like religion. It really polarizes people. It's not one of those that most people are going to be ambivalent about. Most people really like Trump and support him wholeheartedly, or really dislike him. So what I'm saying is hopefully going to fact check a few things and hopefully doesn't piss too many people off. It's certainly not the reason for it. But anyway, your topic?
Well, Trump politics is very divisive.
It is.
And I think that one thing that we try to do on this show is show that, hey, folks can disagree and at the end of the day have a nice glass of wine together.
That's okay.
That's okay.
You don't have to get on Twitter and call each other
twits and bootlickers. And
by the way, Twitter is called tweets. What is True Social called? They have a name for that. I've heard it, but
I don't even own that.
Me either.
Unlike you, Jerry.
I did sign up for it.
Unlike you, I don't even have TikTok yet.
I have TikTok, and believe it or not, you was talking earlier about Twitter and the cesspool that it was. I guess it shows how little I know of social media. I actually thought there was two worse than Twitter. I thought Facebook and Reddit were both worse than Twitter.
I don't think so.
I have long been a member of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but I use them almost none. I just got sick and tired of the crap. The Facebook deal was they sold their information too much. And when I read a report 2, 3, 4 years ago that they had actually sold the private messages, the private DMs.
Oh, wow.
That was the final straw. And I just said,
I'll be back in 20 minutes. I got to go delete some stuff.
Yeah, really. They claimed at the time that it was completely anonymous, that no one would ever be able to figure out who anyone was.
Whatever.
Are you kidding me?
Whatever.
If they sold your DMs, maybe for many people it would be anonymous, but you can't tell me that there's not enough information there if somebody really wanted to figure out who a lot of these people are. So I just,
That's crazy.
That was too much.
So tonight I'm going to do and cover my topic. Okay, let's just put it out there. The topic I'm covering tonight is very broad.
A little bit.
We're going to cover a few of the bad baddies and then some statistics as to why and where and how, and just some mind-blowing numbers.
Bad baddies of what?
Oh, I guess, yeah. I'm going to be covering serial killers. So, as if last week wasn't dark enough, we said we was going to lighten this show up, and you're doing Trump, and I'm doing serial killers. So,
two things that probably pissed people off more than last week's stuff.
What the
heck? YOLO, right?
YOLO, right? Yeah, exactly. See, I don't even know what that means.
You only live once.
Oh, okay. Good deal. I knew that was a thing back there, and I had heard it, and it probably just...
I got it from my daughter who used to... It was one of her big things. YOLO. YOLO.
Interesting. I wonder... Never mind.
What?
I'll ask you after the show. Some things are best left not on air.
If you insist.
I do. Man.
So you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't care to go first, but Oliver's not that bad either.
It's not. I mean, it's one. The reason we got Oliver originally, I think you bought it because it was at Walmart and it was the only sweet red that was
already cold.
Cooler, already cold.
Yeah.
So at the
it was like $7 a bottle. Something.
Yeah,
crazy.
Cheap, and it's already cold. You don't have to buy it, a day ahead of time, and remember to put it in the refrigerator. It's already cold.
Yeah. So also, we really, 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 really want to drink again next Wednesday, and we only need 75 more downloads. So feel free to download all our episodes again and get us back up to 800. Now that brings it up. I mean, we still haven't got to our topics. I'm so sorry.
What time did we start? Wasn't it like an hour ago?
Yeah, we're 30 minutes in and haven't even started our topics yet.
I thought it was an hour. Good.
So anyway, when we hit 1,000, downloads, we gotta do something like maybe we'll get Mochi's Munchies to make us a cake or something. I mean, you're diabetic, so that's probably not a good idea. Because
I thought we said we were going to drink all night for that. We didn't say that.
Well, that's like an hour and a half. We're old.
True.
I mean, 2 bottles of this, and I'm like crashing on your couch. I'm not going home with that because that's too dangerous.
Very true. No, okay. I agree. I was kidding about the all night. I don't know what we will do, but we will certainly have to make it memorable.
Listen, the last time I remember drinking all night, and I'll just tell this funny story. I don't care. Dave.
Yes.
If anyone knows us, knows Dave. If you don't know Dave, Dave is one of my best friends. I've known him for 30 years. And back in the day, Dave and I used to put away unimaginable amounts of alcohol, like most youth did back in the 90s, right?
Right.
So Dave and I worked together, and one night we got off work. It was just he and I and my buddy Scott. We went to my house, and of course, Dave was the only one that was 21. So please don't hold this against us. This happened 30 years ago. Statute of limitations is off. Don't come at me. Don't come at me, bro. We go home, and there is a half gallon of Jim Beam at my house, full. And we start drinking, It's good. We're mixing it with Coke or Dr. Pepper or whatever, and it's great. Well, about after the third or fourth drink, we run out of Dr. Pepper or Coke. And it's midnight. In the small town I was raised, nothing's open. Nothing. So we start raiding the counter. The only thing that was available in my counter that we could mix this with was pineapple juice. Hot pineapple juice in the can. You remember when pineapple juice used to come in that big half-gallon can?
You can still buy it that way.
So we started mixing this Jim Beam with his pineapple juice, and Dave got so sick. He got so sick, he looked like a fountain. And I rolled him over on his side because I thought he was going to, pull a John Bonham. I was afraid for his life. And, yeah. So I'm pretty sure that if you go to that apartment today, even after the carpet's been changed 14 times in 30 years, you can still probably smell that Jim Beam in that particular spot because he didn't make it to a bed. He was in the floor.
Well, if nothing else, I think we've figured out how to get some of your old good stories, in other words, the blackmail material, out of you.
Just feed me wine,
a couple of glasses of wine and good to go.
Feed me wine. Hey, okay, real quick. And I know we're running already short of time.
For the entire show.
But listen, I was dealing with a client today, in all seriousness, who, I started a part-time job. I'm driving people to doctor's appointments and stuff like that. And I've met a lot of awesome people already. One of the people I met today, and I'm not going to mention names, obviously I can't for privacy reasons, but was a drug addict, and we were giving her a ride to a Suboxone clinic. And we had a amazing conversation. It was like a 30-minute ride both ways. So it was a long conversation. And I really want to cover, and I really want to dig deep maybe in a few shows about the problems with drugs in America. I know we've touched on a couple of issues, and we've touched on in a couple of different shows, but we've not committed an entire show to it. And I really want to do that, just so you know, because it is something that, regardless of who you are, what color you are, what sex you are, who you sleep with, how old you are, how young you are, this is something that is ravaging small towns across America. It's ravaging neighborhoods in big cities across America.
Yeah.
And there is no end to it. And it's only getting worse. As the chemicals get stronger, I mean, there's a whole street that the city of Philadelphia has deemed inoperable for their police to go because it's so bad. And we just need to dig into that if you don't care. I know that's a hard, nasty, topic, but, that's what we're here for.
I will add this.
Sure.
I read an article yesterday that I think is a great example of how to not react the way that we shouldn't react to it. The state of California, the legislature passed a law that was going to have a beta test program. 3 cities, LA, San Francisco, and one more city, was going to begin giving drugs, illegal drugs, to whoever wanted them in a controlled medical setting. They weren't going to buy the drugs, but if you brought the drugs in, they would administer them to you in a safe, secure environment with medical supervision.
What's the purpose?
I think that supposedly would save lives. I didn't read the entire article. I got so upset. Now, I will say this. The legislature passed it. Newsom vetoed the law. So it is not going into effect.
Newsom vetoed a law?
Gavin Newsom vetoed this law.
Holy fuck, he's running for president.
Effect. But I just could not believe that. Then I read something that blew my mind even more. We already have 3 or 4 cities around the country that are already doing this. New York City's one, at least in parts of it. They started the test. It's not citywide. And I'm thinking, are you flipping kidding me? I've had many different ideas, some better than others, on how we can try to combat drugs. And overall, my stance is I just don't have a clue. One of the more controversial things that I've said is that years ago, Marion Barry, the crazy mayor of Washington, D.C., the guy who went to prison because he was caught doing cocaine with a prostitute in a hotel room, proceeded to do his prison term, got out, and was reelected as mayor of Washington, D.C. Gotta love Washington, D.C. He said something years ago.
Hookers and blow.
There you go. Hookers and blow.
That's a great slogan. We'll just use that as we run for it. Hookers and blow. A chicken in every pot.
Yeah.
A chicken with some pot.
I remember one time playing at your house with D&D, and you had to put goals or something. Hab. That's what I wrote. Hab. Anyway, to get back on topic, he said that he thought that we needed to legalize drugs, all drugs, legalize them all. Very controversial topic. I get it. I'm not so sure that he's wrong. The war on drugs has been extremely. It hasn't worked. It really hasn't worked. We've been doing this for 30, 40 years. And there are more people hooked on drugs. There are more people doing drugs than ever before. There's more drugs in America than ever before.
How in the world, harder and getting harder and
stronger
harder
all the time. So how in the world can we say that we have in any way been effective with our war on drugs? It isn't working.
No.
Period.
And I have before we do the show, I have homework for all of our listeners. I want you to go to YouTube and YouTube videos of people on Flakka. For example, bath salts. Insane.
Scary stuff.
It's
incredibly scary stuff.
How would you, and think to yourself, if you were to encounter this person in a park, and they want you, what do you do? I mean, and a lot of, I'm going into the weeds. I'm sorry.
You are, but now consider that the bath salts that this guy's on, it's not illegal.
No, you can go buy them at Walmart.
You can go buy them. You can buy them at 7-Eleven. You can buy them at Super America.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Yeah,
that's when it gets really scary.
Rand Paul, and we're getting way off topic, but we'll save that. Let's just save that for the show. Rand Paul had a very good statement. He said that we can never legislate because the legislation always is behind the next thing.
And it is very much,
and it is,
and more and more so as technology continues to get better. The technology is now. I read a report a while back about exactly what you're talking about. The synthetic drug markets are coming in from China. They are coming up with drugs far quicker than we are able to even realize that they're a problem and pass laws to prohibit them.
Right.
By the time we do, they've already got 10 more. For every one that we make illegal, they've got 10 more.
China's our friend, right?
Sending. Sure, they're our friend.
I'm just,
and always.
You know, they care about America.
Them in Russia as well.
Well, I mean, we are 40 minutes in.
40 minutes.
So
we haven't even touched on our topics.
Neither one.
We've barely just said what our topics are. This is why we need to quit drinking.
No, this is why we need to do, according to some of our listeners, a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
You know.
2 hours might give us, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to be able to cover a third of my information for this topic.
Me either. Me either. But, you know, I'm going to say one more thing about the drugs, and then I'm going to save the rest for the
dedicated
show.
Episode.
Yes. There are people in California, because of the 3 strikes law, that is in prison for the rest of their life for marijuana charges.
Yes.
And marijuana is now legal in California.
Yeah. I saw a meme the other day. I think I may have told you about it. A guy who got out of, and I have no idea if it's true or not. Probably not. It's a meme. But anyway, a guy gets out of prison, and he's standing beside the road looking up at a billboard. And he says, I just got out of prison today, served 30 years for a marijuana sentence. And he's looking at a billboard that says, we deliver cannabis to your house. And he thought, are you kidding me? I went to prison for 30 years.
30 years of somebody's life for
bring to your house.
30 years of somebody's life for that.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Whoo! Anywho. Wow. Man. We are I'm having a good time tonight. Maybe I should get up at 3 a.m. every time we do a podcast.
Yeah. Maybe we should just BS for another 10, 15 more minutes and call it a show and wait till next week to cover these topics. There's no way we can do anywhere near justice to these topics.
Well, let's get into some. Let's
We'll at least cover yours.
Okay, let's do that. Let's at least get into some facts and figures and some fun stuff. When we were talking about this, and the reason this comes up today is because I saw an article, and I want to say it was an article from MSN, and they were talking about the likelihood of Americans. No, that's not true. The article said that America has the most serial killers of any country in the known world. And that kind of struck me as like, wait, why is that? Why do we have more serial killers than anybody? So some facts about serial killers that I wanted to bring up, and it just fascinated me. First of all, if you listen to podcasts, we didn't do a local business today, but there's a lot of really good podcasts. I don't like sending my people other places, but there's a lot of great murder mystery podcasts that cover serial killers a lot. So check those guys out for sure, because I've always just been completely mystified, I guess is the word, by serial killers. I don't understand the lack of empathy that people have developed over whatever time that allows them not only to kill once. I can almost understand killing somebody in a moment of passion or a moment of, rage, or, oh, you're trying to hurt my family, I'm going to take you out. I can almost justify that in my mind. The pathology behind, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to watch you for 2 weeks, and then I'm going to take you out, and then I'm going to go to the next one that I'm going to watch for 2 weeks. And I'm going to do everything I did to you, except I'm going to do it cleaner on this one, and I'm going to add this twist to the next one. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing again and again and again, trying to fill this void. And maybe it's like a drug to them. I don't know. But it's a lot of stuff. There is... wow. I just got to say wow. Because when I got into start digging in, how's that not a word?
There you
go. Webster's, I will have a trademark on that word by the end of the day. You can add it if you like, but please just know that I coined that word. Me and George W. now have things in common. We make our words on the fly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about some statistics. Let's just get out of this because I'm drowning. There are 15,000 murders in the United States annually. Sounds like a lot. But if you think about the fact that we have over 300 million people, it's not really that bad. That sounds really terrible. For the people that are involved in that, that's really bad. But given the scope of how many people there are in the country is what I'm getting at there.
How does that number the countries? Did you research that?
I didn't get out of the United States except for when we get to the next topic part of it. Out of the 15,000, though, 150 are actually attributed every year to serial killers. The mid-1980s was the serial killer heyday. In 1987, we had over 163 active serial killers in America.
19 when?
87.
Jeez.
167. Active. Like still killing that the FBI was tracking and trying to catch. That's crazy if you think about it.
Insane.
Well, that's the thing. Most serial killers are not insane. Let's talk about some myths about serial killers real quick. Myth number one. And these are, let me give some credit where credit is due here. I'm quoting out a Scientific American, and they did a really good report on this. They list 5 myths. Myth 1, all serial killers are men. Not true. Not even a little. In fact, if you ever watch the movie Monster, you would understand that women actually are about 50%. There's a 50% ratio. Here's the difference. Men get caught more than women do.
Or to say they're smarter than us?
I'm saying it has nothing to do with intelligence. It has to do with detail. And we think differently, regardless of what some people would have you believe. Men and women think very differently. Mm-hmm. Women are much more attuned to detail. That's why they make great managers. That's why they excel in certain fields that men just can't do. But that's why, they say that 17% of all serial homicides are committed by women. 10% are committed of total murders are committed by women. But that's only the ones that they can prove. And they really feel that number shoots up toward 50%. So the ability to be proven is what they're good at getting away with. Myth number 2. All serial killers are Caucasian. A lot of people think that mostly us crazy white people are the only ones that do serial killers, and that's just not true either.
Most of the big multi serial killers have been white, though. At least the ones caught.
In our country.
Obviously that's different if you go to South Africa.
No, listen. I'm talking about sheer numbers of the killed, of the victims. Numbers-wise, how many victims? By far, Spanish takes that. The Spanish population takes that title by far. Not even close.
But they would fall under Caucasian, would they not?
Not Hispanics, no, not necessarily.
Well, I guess you're right.
Most people do, they divide us up by race. Another part that I hate, but hey, that's what they do. Blacks, whites, Hispanics, but Hispanics by far, number-wise, blow us out of the water.
I wonder how much of that is, no, I don't know. Now, is this serial killers or just homicides, period?
No, serial killers.
Okay.
I don't care about other homicides.
By the way, I did look up intentional homicides per 100,000 by country. It's got to be drug related. The worst countries are Central America, not even close.
Yeah,
but it's El Salvador, Honduras, Venezuela, Jamaica, those countries. And some of those countries, El Salvador is the worst. They're at like 82 per 100,000. The United States, who's somewhere in the middle, is like 5. Yeah, just huge numbers for the Central American countries, and that's got to be drug related.
Either drug related. Well, I don't know that it's drug related because the way they actually classify. Let me look up my report.
Now, I'm not talking serial killers. This is just
homicide.
Intentional homicide.
Okay, gotcha. I was going to say because there's a very different view in how they rate someone who's a serial killer versus someone who, like we had a conversation when I told you I was going to do this about El Chapo. El Chapo has killed a multitude of people.
Directly and
indirectly. But this is more about a very specific, and one of the articles I read, a hunter. Someone who is
personal.
It's very personal.
Not business, where El Chapo was about business. Money.
He's about business. We talked about Hitler. That wasn't about business. That was about political goals. This is very personal.
Yep.
And most serial killers get very fixated. Some of the ones that weren't, Ted Bundy, he didn't care. He just walk up on a car and say, "Oh, well, you did, boom, and done." Yep. One of the other things that we talked about was guns used in serial killing. Very few guns are ever used in a serial killing.
It's not personal enough.
It's not personal enough. They want to get up close. They have planned, meticulated.
They want to see the look in your eyes as life escapes from your body.
Yeah, exactly. Myth number 3, all serial killers are isolated, dysfunctional loners. Not it at all. Ted Bundy, I mentioned him, ladies' man. You know, he was married. John Wayne Gacy had 30, was it 30 or 40? 32, I think, young men buried in his crawl space, to the point that he had it drawn up and gridded and knew the how long it should take each person to decompose so he could bury another person on top of them.
Jeez.
In his crawl space. Only got caught because of the smell. He couldn't get rid of the smell. And he got sloppy at the very end with his last victim. He tried to throw him in the river and got caught that way. That's how he got caught. He had police in his house for dinner with 30 men buried under his crawl space.
Scary stuff.
Blamed it on sewage backing up. So, you know, where was I going? Oh, myth number 4. All serial killers travel widely and kill via the interstate, which we've seen movies about this all the time. Oh, the truck driver, the lone guy, driving up and down the road, killing these people, burying them. This is very much more Silence of the Lambs, according to the FBI. They kill what they covet. They kill what they see every day. So usually they kill in a very small region, and then they bury them or get rid of the bodies in a much bigger region to throw off the authorities, because these are not stupid people. So,
do you remember the DC sniper?
Yeah. I wonder if he would be considered a serial killer.
Now, the thing that made me that initially come to mind is you were talking about people that we tend to think of serial killers as killing like along an interstate. Well, that's absolutely what they did. They killed up and down I-95, and at the time I lived within a few miles of 95 and worked. The store that I worked at was half a mile from I-95, and there was a period of about 3 or 4 months when we had some sort of federal law enforcement that was in our parking lot. Didn't know it for a while, but they began after a while to come in and introduce themselves to me and ask if they could use the restroom. And
wasn't that scary? I mean, you lived through that.
Yeah, so it was very scary.
You had a small daughter at the time.
It was absolutely scary.
I mean,
most of the people back during the DC sniper, they were killed at gas stations that were directly off of an exit from I-95.
Right.
I made sure there was a year and a half that I did not go to any gas station within 5 miles of the interstate.
And how they were killing, you know, they had taken the lock out of the boot, and he was sniping through that hole.
Yep.
You know,
that small hole.
And that's something else. Then it says that most serial killers we believe are loners. He very much had a willing accomplice.
His son.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? They're still in prison. Right? They didn't get the death penalty, did they?
No.
Yeah.
I think the father might have, but he's not been executed. It's still on appeal or whatever, if he did.
Yeah. I think they're still alive.
I'm sure they are.
Number 5 myth. That serial killers are either mentally ill, Mochi just joined us and wanted to know why we were celebrating again.
Because we can.
Yep, because we can. Number 5 is that all serial killers are either mentally ill or evil geniuses. Not necessarily the case. They're just methodical.
I would disagree.
What?
At some level, they are broken. At some deep level that you can't get around, they are broken. They may be able to fake it. They may be able to go out in public. They may be married and have kids and a happy social life. They are screwed up psychologically.
Well, here's what it says. It says neither of these two stereotypes are quite accurate. Instead, serial killers are much more likely to exhibit antisocial personality disorders such as psychopathy or sociopathy, which are not considered to be mental illnesses by the APA.
Yeah, I don't even know if we have a term for what they've got wrong with them, but there's something. You remember what you said when you let off with this? How can you do this repeatedly?
Yeah.
You said, I can understand how you get mad at someone you love. You know, I can get mad. I can understand how you got pissed off at the neighbor because he let his dog poop in your yard for the 119th time. Whatever it is, I can understand one person, how you could get angry enough to do something stupid. It's not okay. It's not an excuse, but I can understand how you get there. We're saying, I don't even know how you get to the point that you want to kill umpteen people.
Yeah.
But no, people you don't even know.
And do so with such intense emotion toward that person.
Yep.
You know, because most of these killers, it's savage. It's not like, oh, I stabbed you in the heart and then you walk away. It's brutal. It's savage. Most of these killers take a trophy.
Yep.
You know, and Jigsaw from the movie series Saw was a direct representation of that. He always cut a piece of their skin out in the piece in the shape of a puzzle piece. That's real.
Do we want to tell? Do we want to get really personal with this?
Sure.
Remember when you and your family moved into your house, and we were up in your attic?
Oh gosh!
And we found this case of toenail clippings.
It was the big box.
The big box.
Yeah.
Oh, we're pretty sure that it was a serial killer who was collecting trophies.
So the backstory there, real simple, real quick. We're running so far out of time. So when I bought my house, it had one bathroom downstairs, and we wanted to put a full bathroom in upstairs. And Jerry and I took this undertaking on by ourselves. Yep. And when we started doing it, we found this huge wooden box. It was a wooden box. And we opened it up, and we're like, well, this is new. And we open it up, and it has all these little wooden boxes that were like displays. Like it looked like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it looked like inside each little box, which was now open once you opened the big doors, had a display of
with its own display case.
Yeah. And there was like 30 boxes inside it.
Yep.
And one of them was like used toenail or old toenail clippings. One of them was used Band-Aids. One of them was used condoms. One of them was all Barbie heads. Yep. It was the craziest, nuttiest thing.
Suffice it to say, whether they were caught or not, that remains disputed. But your house was previously occupied, most likely, by a serial killer.
Well, we're not even going to talk about the taped up box under the front porch. I think my son Josh finally braved up. I was not going to touch it. I was afraid there was like a skull in it or something. But anyway, oh man. Anywho, where was I at? Oh, so Jerry.
Yes.
Now, don't cheat.
I won't cheat.
Okay. Per capita.
Just so you see that I'm not cheating.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about cheating because of what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Per capita, that means all things equal.
Right.
Okay? Population-wise. Which state has produced the most serial killers?
That's not fair because you actually told me this.
I know, I told you not to cheat.
The other day. I can't because I don't recall. But I do remember it was a state that you normally would not think of as one of the...
Yeah. So you would normally think California, New York.
Well, not really.
Just because of population.
Not per capita, I wouldn't think of those guys. I would think of those guys in terms of total number of killings.
Right.
But per capita, I mean, holy crap. California's got so many people, it would take a holy shitload of killings to be in the top per capita.
I'm going to... Proportional to its population.
Right.
Alaska.
That's right.
Is, without a doubt, the most popular state among serial killers with 15.65 serial killings per 1 million inhabitants.
Yep. And when you told me that, I said it makes sense because due to the huge periods of time that they go with very, very little sunshine at the wrong time of the year, they're known to be far and away the most depressed state in the Union. So that didn't surprise me because of that.
Well, that, and, anywhere in the Northwest or any of the Midwest, when you get into those sparsely populated states, you have a very significant lack of mental health capabilities. Yep. And like we said a minute ago, there's no way that, even if it's not recognized by the ADA or the APA, there's some mental connections here. You don't just wake up one day and say, I want to start butchering people every week until I get caught. The number 2 state, I'll cover these real quick, Nevada. Number 3, Florida. It's the first big state with a big population center.
That surprises me.
Yeah. And, what I think is funny in Florida especially is like, I wonder if the serial killer's best weapon of choice is like dentures or...
Maybe it's old people, it's known as the retirement state. Maybe it's old people who are tired of living in pain. I don't know.
Okay, I got to say this because, I used to do home health and deal with old people, elderly people a lot. And now I'm back in a situation where I'm dealing with elderly people a lot. And I just got to throw this stat out here to you and for our listeners.
Okay.
Well, I've probably given it away, but that's okay. Where do you think the number 1 surge for sexually transmitted diseases is?
Oh, sure, it's the elderly.
It's absolutely in nursing homes.
Old enough to know better, too young to give a crap, right?
Well, it's Viagra. That's what
That's part of it. I think there actually comes a point, though, that old saying becomes true.
Yeah.
They know better. They just don't give a crap anymore. They really don't.
So
the fact that the nurses are going to walk in at any second, they don't care.
Yeah. Well,
the
they
fact
see
their
their
children
anyway,
might come
right?
in, they don't care. Maybe a little bit of dementia set in. Bottom line, they don't care.
If they can, and they are.
And they will, yes. Absolutely.
I think that's the number 1 criteria at that point. Can you? Yep, let's do. Number 4, California. Oh, geez.
That surprises me that they are actually that high with the high number of population
they have. Yeah, you would think they would drop the number down.
It does show you that some of the most prolific serial killers has come from that area.
Well, here's the other thing, too, that a lot of people forget about California. California has the highest, by far, number of homeless people. And by far, the number 1 cause of homelessness is some sort of mental affliction or drug addiction.
They do have the highest numbers. I don't know per capita how that would relate to homelessness.
I think it's probably big enough to be able to.
Could be.
Yeah. Number 5, Washington. Number 6, Oregon. And as long as you're not in the first 6, and you don't go to Florida, and you stay on the East Coast, you're good. That's what I'm learning here. Number 7, Louisiana. And that's pretty much where we're going to stop that list because basically Louisiana and Florida, stay away from, and don't go out west. You're good. The report that I read that disturbed me the most, and you didn't think that there was much validation in it, but I'm going to read it anyway, is that at once... the report said at some point in your lifetime, you will encounter, it doesn't mean you talk to, doesn't mean you shake hands with, you may brush by them in the mall, you will encounter a serial killer at some point in your life. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I think that number is probably misleading.
No, I've met one. If he doesn't have bodies buried in his basement.
You have no idea.
No, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
You think he's weird.
Look, I'm weird, Jerry.
How many murders has he been convicted of?
Oh, that's the catch,
exactly.
You see?
0.
That's the catch. If he had been convicted, he wouldn't be a serial killer. He would be a caught killer.
So no serial killers are convicted and caught?
Well, after they're caught. But this guy, he's not got caught yet. Listen, I'll tell you after we get off air all about that. I can't online because names would be involved in privacy. But this guy has bodies in his basement, I guarantee you.
Let me ask you, did you believe this strongly enough to call law enforcement and notify them?
No, I knew it well enough never to be anywhere around this guy where I wasn't in public with other people around.
There you go.
Oh, man. Do we want to keep going? Let's see, where are we at? Oh, we're already over an hour. Wow. Oh, wow. So let me just throw a few more stats real quick. The addiction to serial killers is a real thing in America. People watch anything that has serial killers attached to it. As an example, Ted Bundy's article on Wikipedia, 29.4 million views in 2019 alone.
Go figure.
1 year. Here's the other thing. Currently, do you want to know how many current active serial killers are in America?
Sure.
According to the FBI.
Okay.
What do you guess?
40.
40. Are you ready?
40.
Are you ready to never leave your house again?
Nah. Go for it.
2,000 active current.
Did you ever define?
We
I
did.
don't remember. Okay, I forgot. It's 2 or more.
It's two or more at two
Separate occasions.
Two separate
It
occasions.
can't be one occasion.
Right.
Kill 2 people.
Right. Right.
Yeah. There was some other, when you was telling me about this the other day, there was someone else that had a definition, or it used to be 4.
Yeah.
And it changed to 2. So I'm sure that, going from 4 to 2 drastically increased the numbers.
Here's the actual definition via the FBI.
Okay.
Serial killing is the unlawful homicide of at least 2 people carried out by 1 or more people, which has occurred at different times and in separate events. It should not be mistaken with mass murder, which includes several victims at the same time at the same place.
Yeah.
So that's the key. That's the difference.
2,000 of those.
2,000. That's according to the FBI.
Now, 50 states divided by 4 are 2,000. That's an average of 40 per state.
Yeah.
40 per state.
Now that number of you passing one in the mall doesn't look so unbelievable.
And in the state of Kentucky, which, if I remember correctly, we have 120 counties. I think that's on the upper end. Most states have counties that are far larger and less counties. But even in the state of Kentucky with 120 counties, that means 1 for every 3 counties. So if you were to look at, let's say, Franklin County, Anderson County, and Mercer County, we've got at least 1 serial killer here.
Yeah, and I know where he is, and I know he's got bodies in his basement.
You might want to call the state police and let them know.
All right. So real quick, I told you we talked about numbers, and I want to go through this real quick.
Sure.
This is according to Wikipedia, so take it for what it is, okay? If I were to tell you, and we had this discussion, so don't cheat, now this is proven victims.
Right.
Victims that the serial killer has given details or taken them to bodies, proven victims. What do you think that the number is for the worst serial killer since 1900?
If I remember correctly, I answered you with, I think, 80, 70, 80, somewhere around there. Again, I was also thinking United States. I wasn't thinking worldwide.
No, this is worldwide.
This is worldwide. Yeah. But the answer is?
193.
A lot of people.
That's a lot of death. Now, they think, according to the MO and to things that they can attribute to him, they don't have DNA testing, and you'll see why in a second.
The number could be higher.
The number could be over 300.
Yeah, and somewhere along the line, if I remember correctly, they typically only attribute a murder to one of these guys if they can give clear and proven evidence. Well,
absolutely.
Once you get to 100, 120, 130, how many of these can you even remember anymore?
Well, I can tell you, the Golden State Killer in California drew pictures of every one.
But my point is, most of these guys, like this one, it could be 170 that their official count.
Yeah.
They believe it's over 300. The average person can't remember 300 different people and enough description to be able for them to accurately
I get 100%.
say that he did.
Now, the United States is not to be undone. Okay, there is we contribute Harold Shipman. He's a doctor in America. Was a doctor in America. They think that his number was somewhere between 218 and 250, but he has yet, at the time of his death, had not been able to produce 218 bodies. But they felt like they had enough victims that met the criteria of his particular style, that he was guilty. He denied it. So
a doctor.
Yeah.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
Please tell me he was like Dr. Kevorkian. He was trying to do mercy killings.
No.
Yeah.
He got through.
I was afraid of that.
He had a God complex. He had so 193 for Luis Garvito. And those killings happened in Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela. Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru was next on the list with 110 from Pedro Lopez. The first American to actually get this list of the absolute most was Samuel Little, 1970 to 205. 60 guaranteed or confirmed kills, possibly up to 93. And he claimed 90. So they confirmed 60 of those. Basically, just a nasty dude. He hated women. He hated prostitutes, and that was his primary victims.
Jeez.
Yeah.
By the way, I know it's not rapid fire week, but I just got the announcement on my news app that Pete Arredondo, however you pronounce his last name, the Uvalde Schools police chief, has just been fired.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
After those videos surfaced of the police officers standing outside while the shooting was still happening inside.
1 hour and 14 minutes.
Oh, gosh.
Until they breached the room.
Isn't that stupid?
Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Good for him. I hope he never gets a job in law enforcement again.
I tell you, he would have a very tough time doing it.
Let me just, and you said it, we're not doing rapid fire. But we've often talked here, and I'm going to wrap up the serial killer stuff. They're bad. Stay away from them. If you feel weird, go away. Find somebody public. Go public. Stay away from the guy I know that lives in Lexington. The video, we can't go a whole show. We talk often about how hard a police officer's job is.
Very difficult.
And we don't make no bones about it. The video that came out Louisiana, I think, last week.
Okay.
3 officers had the guy subdued,
Yep.
beat the holy snot right out of him.
Yep.
Why? This is why people have such a hard time giving the benefit of the doubt when people like this abuse the authority granted to them.
Coming out.
How do you not know that there's video everywhere?
In today's society,
Right.
just assume that there is. Assume there is. Someone is peeking through a blind, a fence with a mobile phone and they're videotaping, or you're on some webcam. It just, in today's society, assume everything you're doing is being taped.
Yeah.
I don't know why more cops don't get this. And it brings me back to if you remember when we were talking to Clay last time, and you mentioned about the one bad apple, and his comment was, there's too many of those.
Right.
There's too many bad apples, because if you claim it's just a few, then you'd have a few places that are corrupt.
Yeah.
But the more and more that we find out that this is happening all over
These guys
America.
beat the holy snot out of this guy.
They did.
I
And
mean,
he's not a good guy. He's like a lot of them.
No,
He
he's-
wasn't innocent. He was guilty of what he was charged with. In my understanding, from what I've read, he was the original call was terroristic threatening or something.
Sure.
And
I'm not defending this scumbag.
But
he didn't deserve that.
But he did not deserve to be shackled and then get the holy crap beaten out of him by 2 while another one videotapes it.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I had to bring that up because, wow. How as a entrusted member with a dictated authority that we give them, are you going to behave like that knowing that everything in the world is videotaped right now?
Don't you think that this has proven, if nothing else, that we need to do a much better job of the selection process for police officers? We do. We're not doing it right. We're not doing
something
it
we're not
correctly.
doing is correct.
We're not finding the guys who have a tendency to do this.
But you know, the police agencies, and I understand, they kind of are going through what everybody else in the nation is going through. They're short-handed.
Sure.
And they're trying to get bodies in the seats.
And with everything that was said, still have one of the toughest jobs in the frickin' world.
Right.
Let's not get around that. Let's not try to change that story. Speaking of police, by the way, obviously I'm not going to have time to do my show this week, but it reminds me. Do you remember the old show Barney Miller from years and years ago?
I remember.
It was a cop show.
This is the weird part. I remember the opening song.
Okay, yeah.
And the guy with the mustache. That's all I remember.
Well, there was the black guy with the mustache.
No, the white guy? The chief.
Barney Miller.
Yeah.
His name was Captain Barney Miller.
Yeah.
He had a detective, Sergeant Wojciechowicz. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Do you remember that?
No, I don't. I just told you everything I remember.
Jewish guy, heavy set. He was always late for work. Always late for work. And he'd come in one day, and Barney immediately starts to rip him a new asshole. And he says, "But Barney, I've got a great excuse." Barney says, "I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear him." He said, "Fine, I'll save it for next time." That's what I'm going to do with my show. I will save it until next time.
Yeah.
And we will discuss it then.
Man, we apologize for going so over.
Although I don't know why. We're used to, we do it all the time.
This is what we do. This Absolutely. Is, first of all, serial killers. Do we need, here's the big debate. And here's why I brought it up. Because in our show, do we need to cover that more?
Probably.
And here's the way I think, and here's the two ways of thinking of it.
Sure.
Do we need to bring it up more so people are more aware that it's real, that it happens? We have 2,000 lunatics on this, or do we not bring it up more because we don't want to make people
scared to death?
Either scared to death, or we don't want to produce more because they might think that's their ticket to fame.
Yeah. I still say if there is an average of 40 per state, we've already determined that between Franklin County, Anderson County, and Mercer County, we've got at least one. You said the guy in Lexington, but that's neither of us.
So that's a different
guy. So we've got another one that we don't know of within this 3-county area.
I probably know him too.
I think just based upon the fact that you know some weirdos?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. But yeah, based upon the fact that it's 40 per state, I'd say we need to have a little more conversation about this.
Yeah, I'd say thumbs up on that too, brother. All right. Wow, that was a long show. Hour 17. So the people that actually wanted more, you got a little more today. Bonus material. We will be back for our live listeners on Sunday with Clay as we talk about the national surveillance state. We did the state and the local last time. This time we're
really
national.
State, mainly just local. Yeah. A little bit of state. This time we're going to get into
NSA, CIA, the stuff that you really should keep you up at night.
Yeah, the real scary stuff.
It's bad. Parting words?
Until next time.
One
other parting word. We really need to consider cutting out alcohol. It's every time we do it, we're like an hour and 15-minute minimum. This time, an hour and 17 minutes, and we only covered one of the two topics.
Well, I don't necessarily blame that on the wine.
And I also say, why should we have to suffer as a result of our own success? Right? We're celebrating based on our success. So why should we be punished? Why should we have to be the ones to suffer because of that?
Well, I don't know what you mean. Does that mean we should have wine every week?
I'm saying, yes, if we were to abstain, we're punishing ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
So why would we do that?
Yeah, good point. I agree. We agree on something. Holy crap.
So, in other words, the podcast may get longer, but we're not going to quit.
No, it's too much fun now. We're in now. Guys, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for liking. Also had a couple of great comments. We forgot a comment on, we'll save it for next time. We got a great email about the Three Gorges Dam in China. Yep. And that was in response to what we talked about in Saudi Arabia. We want to bring that up next time.
One of our rapid fire.
Yeah. So send us your emails. Newsworthy with Steve and Jerry at gmail.com. Yep. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Till next time.
Bye.